everyone, and welcome to this video. My name is Elaine Oyang and I am a certified yoga therapist. What I do is I work one-on-one with individuals using restorative yoga therapy and therapeutically based yoga methods such as pranayama, meditation, and alignment to help people resolve pain. And today I'm going to talk about common myths about low back pain. So I'm going to take in my years of experience with working with clients, especially clients with low back pain, and tell you about common things that they have not been doing quite successfully, quite beneficially for them, but yet are very conventional and common methods of taking care of low back pain. And then I'm going to tell you how to really resolve low back pain with more restorative approaches. So jump into this video, make sure you go through all the way to the end because I will talk about a lot of these methods that you'll find very quite shocking because you hear these a lot. So make sure you go through to the end and I will see you on the other side. Okay, so the first common myth of low back pain is that strengthening your core will resolve your low back pain. So let me repeat that. Strengthening your core will resolve your low back pain. Now this sounds like a very common advice, commonly heard advice that maybe you have been given and you have given to other people. But let me tell you that a lot of my clients who come in to see me, they were given these common advice of strengthening the core and they have low back pain, low back tension because that person has a weak core. But that's not always the case. They're coming to me and they say, my PT or my chiropractor or my personal trainer tells me to strengthen my core, but when I try to do any core activities and core strengthening exercises, I end up injuring myself even more. So why is that the case? That's because when someone has low back tension, low back pain, their spinal muscles are so tight that they don't know how to discern between using real abdominal muscles versus back muscles. Let me back up a little bit actually. When we think of core exercises, we're thinking of abdominal, stomach, belly, okay, this front layer. However, when you're talking really technical core, it does actually include your back and spinal muscles, even all the way up to your diaphragm and even your pelvic floor. Yes, surprise, surprise. That's something that we don't ever get taught or we misunderstand what the true core really is. But the core is actually all of this trunk area below the rib cage all the way to your hips and all these areas in the waist. So it's not just the front abdominal muscles. So when someone has low back pain or low back tension, their spinal muscles and back muscles are very tight. And tight muscles usually means weak muscles. Okay, so I'm gonna let that sink in again. Tight muscles mean weak muscles. So if you imagine a real tough ball of muscles, very, very tight, there's nowhere for it to continue to contract where muscles need to contract. And so it feels weak because it can't contract anymore. And what you need to do is release that first so it can do its job. So anyway, back to spinal muscles and core muscles. People with low back pain, low back tension, maybe you have been in one of those camps, feel very weak and tight in their back muscles. On the second hand, they don't have a lot of awareness between their abdominal muscles versus their back muscles. So I'm going to make that distinction here. Abdominal muscles in the front back muscle and spinal muscles in the back area. And so when they come in saying PT, chiropractor, their personal trainer tells them to do core or abdominal exercises, they're unable to really find their abdominal muscles, and they're still using their back muscles instead. And that's why these core exercises and core strengthening exercises are not effective, and in fact aggravate their back pain even more. So what do you do instead? If everyone's giving you the suggestion of strengthening your core and doing ab exercises and doing sit-ups and crunches and planks, then what do you do instead to really find your abdominal muscles to help you work? Well, I always go with release. Release first and foremost. Go back into a neutral zone so that your muscles can, your back muscles and spinal muscles can finally take a breather. They have been working so hard for you, keeping you upright and keeping you upright probably in not so ideal posture, and they're overworking and overly fatigued. So especially in my line of work and the specific type of yoga I work with my clients with, the release is incredibly effective in targeting these deep tension through the spine from the pelvis all the way up into the neck and shoulders. So just because you only have low back pain doesn't mean the other areas of your spine are not tight. Eventually you might feel pelvic floor tightness and pain, or maybe even neck and shoulder tension, even migraine. So it's all a big chain in the back there that we need to all address and find a baseline, relaxed, neutral ground for the body. And then we build strength and integrate from there. Without the base layer of releasing first, you're just building more tension on top of already existing tension, and you may be even exaggerating or exacerbating the pre-existing patterns that got you in this low back pain, low back tension in the first place. So definitely number one is finding neutral, release, release, release before strengthening can happen. Okay, now the second common myth about back pain, any pain in general, I think, is no pain, no gain. This mentality of no pain, no gain. I mean, I think we need to retire that already, because it hasn't really done anyone any good, especially if you have persistent pain. So, why is this not effective? When your body perceives pain, when you are already experiencing pain, the sympathetic nervous system, the stress response of your body, elevates even more. And when that elevates, the muscle's gonna become even tighter and everything's going to constrict more, and that actually loops back in creating even more pain and tension, which that is not what we're looking for. So you might ask, but Elaine, what about pain in the realm of spiritual growth or personal growth? Isn't that a good pain? So that's actually another topic that I'm not going to go into a lot of details today, but yes, that's going to be something that I'll address later. And I'm going to stay physically here so that when we talk about pain, there's that bad pain where it's actually creating more damage to your tissues, or something that your nervous system is not actually ready to rise up to the challenge of. And there is the pain where, given just the right amount of challenge, your body can actually reorientate, rearrange themselves to rise up to this slight discomfort that helps the tissue to regenerate and replenish. And sometimes this discomfort is because of an increased flow of oxygen and blood into that area. Suddenly you're feeling a lot because the tight areas have been numbed, the tense areas have been shut off from blood circulations, they've been constricted, and suddenly when things are moved, released, then suddenly you feel more because blood is flowing in, prana is flowing in. So this is different from, ow, that did not feel good, in my body, that did not feel good in my low back. I'm going to feel this tomorrow. So that's completely different. So when I say pain, I meant that kind of pain. And a lot of clients that come to me, they've tried a lot of different methods, and as far as I understand, there are a lot of techniques out there that are still just, even though it's gentle for most people, but it's still way too intense if the person already has years and years of chronic and persistent pain, where there's already a psychological and neurological patterning that we need to address and meet my client where they are really start at the bottom baseline level. So again, going back to the release, setting the baseline, starting from the ground up. So that's myth number 2, no pain, no gain. Don't follow that. It's time to retire that advice. The third myth that I'm going to address is stress has nothing to do with my back pain. And that is just not true on multiple different levels. If you are a person who has experienced low back pain, you may find that with increased stress, whether from work, from family, from personal life, relationships, finances, whatever it is, you may find that when you have more stress and probably less sleep in the days in your life, then you'll feel a little bit more pain, a little bit more tension in your low back. The common misconception is that, oh, your low back pain is just a physical symptom. What does that have to do with the psychological symptoms and physiological symptoms of stress? Well, let me tell you, the physiological pathways of your body in response to stress is increased muscle tension. Okay, so there you have it. One of the first things, increased muscle tension, because your body is trying to prepare you to fight or flee or freeze from the saber-toothed tiger out there. So we have a very ancient wiring system. It's not updated, even though we don't really face saber-toothed tiger. But again, that's another topic. I'll link you to the stress talk. So like I was saying, your muscles start to tense in response to stress. Your blood sugar level also rises, your blood pressure rises, your heart rate increases, your pupils dilate, again, all in response to potential threat from the outside world. So if you don't think stress affects your low back pain, think again. Sleep is another one, because without proper sleep, your body's capability and resiliency against stress is actually lower, and so the other physiological functions will follow as well. So here's myth number 3, stress has nothing to do with my low back pain. And lastly, the 4th myth that I want to address is all yoga is good for back pain. Well, I'll have to disagree with that. Because there are so many types of yoga offered in studios and gyms nowadays. There's from vinyasa to Bikram to Iyengar to restorative to yin to hatha to anusara. I can't even keep track nowadays, and now there's all these fusions of yoga styles as well now today. So in terms of what styles of yoga is best for you, you would probably opt for gentle, slower, more restorative type of yoga. But more importantly is the teacher that you seek out. Today, a lot of teachers are trained with a 200-hour teacher training, and they're out teaching, and you may step into the class where a teacher is not quite up there, not quite up to speed yet, or don't have enough experience working with specific types of ailments and symptoms. And they may not be able to accommodate for you and may teach a class that aggravate your back pain more. They are not doing this out of malintention, they are doing this out of their best intention, but with so many teachers out there, with so many yoga teacher trainings, with so many styles of yoga, and with so many people in a class, you just never know. For example, in a vinyasa class, there's usually a lot of upward facing dog, chaturangas, downward facing dogs, twist, and fast-paced movement. All these poses, all these asanas on their own, they are not harmful. They are not meant to do any damage to the body. However, when you move through at such a fast pace, especially if your back is feeling a little delicate, these are really, really big movements that honestly, it's not gonna help you in any way if your low back is delicate. So what to do instead? Well, you're gonna have to do your own research. You'll have to look for a teacher or a therapist, a yoga therapist who are well trained and very experienced with working with people with what you have, whether that's just musculoskeletal low back tension, whether that's degeneration in your disc or other spinal disc injuries. You'll want to make sure that that teacher or yoga therapist have the knowledge, the background and experience to deliver the best sequence, practice, and suggestions for you. And I'll link some of the resources that you can use to find these yoga teachers and yoga therapists. If you were to go to a group class, you would probably want to call the studio ahead of time and ask them what classes are appropriate for you and ask them what teachers they have that have the most experience in working with the types of conditions and injuries that you may have. If you are going the one-on-one route, which I highly recommend, where you find a yoga teacher or yoga therapist and you work with him or her for an extended period of time on an individual basis, that is probably my best suggestion if you have existing low back tension or continuing on and off low back pain, low back tension, or spinal disc injuries. Again, make sure you do your research, find a teacher or yoga therapist that have the knowledge and background to work with you. But the beauty of these one-on-one sessions is that your teacher or your yoga therapist can help deliver and work with you through a sequence that is not only safe for your body, but effective in resolving some of the pain, resolving some of the tension that you have so that you can move through the day and move in your body more freely without pain. A lot of yoga teachers and yoga therapists also offer lifestyle suggestions and posture suggestions to help you eliminate and prevent future flare-ups. So there you have it, 4 common myths about low back care. And if you have any questions, please, you can drop a comment below, email me at elaineyogatherapy@gmail.com, or you can go through the contact form on elaineyoga.com. I would love to hear from you and hear if these myths make sense for you, whether there's follow-up questions that I can address. You can also hop onto my website at elaineyoga.com to find an ebook with 4 essential yoga poses to help relieve low back pain. So these are 4 poses that I've worked with my clients for years, and these 4 essential that across the board, all of them love, and they say they cannot go a day without these 4 poses. It really keeps their back and spine healthy. If you like this video, please share and subscribe. I'm gonna come out with more of these videos, and I will see you next time. Bye.